Hello! Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Gosh, Bigora.
Something like that. We are, in fact, 38% Scots-Irish. So we wear the green.
I think we're more than that.
Well, we're 50% English.
Well, you know, our great-grandfather on our dad's side, who was named John Fuller, came from Ireland.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But it doesn't increase the blood volume.
And he came through Ellis Island.
Yeah.
So we do have Irish blood.
Yes, we do. 38%.
Gosh, Bigora. Lucky Charms. They're magically delicious.
No, they're not. But they are damn good. It's a very unusual experience to be watching television and see a Lucky Charms commercial with people sprinkling down from the sky. The entirety of Pentatonics was in a Lucky Charms commercial. You're sitting there looking at it going, I've met those people. And now
we decided to do today's St. Patrick's Day show for that famous Irish American
Tony Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub, who's actually Armenian, but
Lebanese.
Or is he Lebanese? Yeah, he's Lebanese. And but he was born in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
And his wife.
Green.
His wife is half Irish.
There you go. So, see, we decided to do this about what, 20 minutes ago?
Yeah. because we're sitting there going, what are we going to do?
Because I am currently binge watching the show. I'm in the final season right now. I just started season 8. And, the shows, you can see the show was winding down and it was ready to, for them to go on and do something else. Cast members were starting to die off. And well, they had one
reason.
They had one semi-regular cast member who passed on, and one who was just happened to be a guest star one time. The fellow that played Monk's landlord.
Yeah.
He passed on. Yeah. And Stanley Kamel, who played Dr. Kroger, who was Monk's psychiatrist.
Who was a major background character,
Right. And he had a heart attack and died all of a sudden. And they portrayed his passing the same way on the show. They had him unexpectedly. I mean, most heart attacks are unexpected.
Yeah.
Unless you're suffering from heart disease, in which case it's not. But so I had an interesting week this week. I had to go up to Apple Valley to a funeral. My nephew was killed in a traffic accident a few weeks ago. So that was sad. It was only 54. But it's like it's bad, but I did get to see family members I hadn't seen in a while, so that was nice. Mostly it's my wife's family is who I saw, and my wife passed on in 2020, so I don't see as many of them as I used to.
That's sad.
Yep. But I cheered myself up yesterday by spending the day at Disney.
The happiest place on earth.
Yep. The most expensive place on earth, but it's also fun. I enjoy it there. I brought my own sodas. I splurged the last couple of months. I've been splurging at Ghirardelli's ice cream parlor. and they have something called the Land's End Sundae, which is quite delicious, but it's also $19. So,
I don't
but
know. These days, a Big Mac is about $19.
yeah, no kidding. It's getting absolutely ridiculous.
It's insane.
I went to IHOP this morning. There were two of us, me and my granddaughter, and we had pancakes,
$143.
which are one of the cheapest things you could usually buy, pancakes. And it was $40 for
Yep.
a child's plate of pancakes and an adult's plate of pancakes and a soda and a glass of orange juice. And it was $40. So,
Well, I'm cooking at
I don't
home
know.
for these days. Yesterday, tonight we're going out with kids. So we moved St. Patrick's Day to yesterday. And I made toad in the hole, which is a Scottish dish, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And Irish goody, which is sort of a bread pudding. And that's what we had yesterday. Today we're going out with the kiddos, so I'm sure it'll be pizza.
I think we've lost Kim.
Oh, have we?
Because we don't have anybody on, and usually she's the one on our.
This is not Streamyard's account though. Or Facebook. This is YouTube. And most people watch us live on Facebook or StreamYard. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was YouTube's count.
Yeah, we just use YouTube as a sort of repository of past programs. And we do have a couple of people who will occasionally watch over there, but it's not, unless they just happen to be YouTube watchers and get us on Facebook. I wondered.
I have noticed that one guy who was using Flak as his name seems to have disappeared.
Yeah, I got him yanked.
Okay, because when I do a search now for Flak, he doesn't come up first, and he doesn't come up at all anymore. So.
Well, I had my attorney send over paperwork showing that I had the LLC and the fanflak.com domain. So it's ours. And to whomever tries to, God knows, everybody would want Fanflak. So.
Well, of course. Who wouldn't?
But I got used to that when I worked in the web industry. You just have to fight for your names because it's important. And I had an ex-business partner who was a shark, so I had to fight with her all the time. So I learned how to do it with my attorney and my ex-attorney and my what do you call it? Never mind. Some legalese. So today,
Flak, born with coward shame. What do you do when you're Flak and you fight for your name?
For your name.
Remember what that came from?
Yes, that was branded.
Branded.
Yep.
With Chuck Connors.
Yep. Not Mike Connors, but Chuck Connors. Yep. We're going to have Mike Connors' cousin on here in a couple of weeks.
Hey, that'd be cool.
Yeah. But,
is Mike Connors dead?
Yeah. Yeah. They both passed. Yeah. I no longer just say yes because I've been wrong so many times when I went, oh, yeah, they're dead. John Aston being a perfect example. I have clear memory of dying.
94?
94. Yeah.
Speaking of John Aston, at Disneyland yesterday, I saw a young lady that had about a 4-inch picture of John Astin tattooed on her leg.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yep. She had, on her lower thigh, on the front half of her leg, right above her knee, she had this big picture of a young John Astin.
And one day, in the not too distant future, no different than you and me, she's going to be 70 something, and her flesh is going to start getting more loose and less taut. And she's
And it's
going
going
to
to
be
look like Edward James Olmos.
exactly. Or, Bubba Fett, or Bubba, what was that guy's name?
Boba
Star
Fett?
Wars. Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
You never really saw his face, though, did you?
Well, not in the original show.
Huh.
They had a movie or two where he took his helmet off and you saw him.
You saw a face. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Disneyland. You see a lot of stuff there. It's become the Hollywood Boulevard of amusement parks. But
I'll tell you,
anyway,
this new Universal amusement park that they're building, I don't know if you've seen an eclipse of it. It's called Epic Universe.
Yeah.
And if it's as good as those videos look, Disney's gonna have to get popping if they're gonna keep up with it. It looks pretty good.
Well, yeah, but this is the thing. Disneyland's Disneyland. It's one of the last places we spent time with people we loved. So it has.
Well, I don't know if you heard, but this week they had a big vote with the Disneyland Board of Directors.
Yeah, I did hear. What was the outcome?
As to who was going to run Disney. And this one group of people who had bought a bunch of shares wanted to oust all the usual people and put in a bunch of cost cutters. And they wanted to start divesting themselves of things and cut costs. And the Disney family, who still owns a big chunk of Disney stock, back to Bob Iger.
Oh, really?
Yes. They all came in unexpectedly and backed Bob Iger.
That's the way you got to do it.
Bob Iger won. So as long as the Disney family still has that chunk of stock, if they ever sell it, we can kiss Disneyland goodbye.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we can. It's already changed so much from the original place where I had memories of. When I went down there and I looked down Main Street and you get this visual distortion, like, where the hell am I? I felt like Tony Shalhoub's character in Galaxy Quest.
Main Street's the only part of Disneyland that retains most of its original charm. Now, none of the shops are the same, but if you just ignore what's on the facade on the sides of the street and just look at the buildings, it still looks a lot like it did originally.
But they have to appeal to the current generation. I mean, they're not going to get it. It's going to work if they keep the Tomorrowland up with the yurts shaped house of the future.
Well, Tomorrowland
is anymore.
Tomorrowland is where Disney is in trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they've got that great big round building that used to be Carousel of Progress that doesn't function anymore. It won't turn. And it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars to remove that thing.
Yeah. And it's going to be a big ulcer in the middle of the park.
I mean, it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
So
Well,
they either need to figure out something to do there that encompasses that building, even if it isn't turning, just encompassing the big round building.
turn it
Or
into a Marvel store.
the Tomorrowland stage won't go up and down anymore.
Yeah.
So they're really having a hard time.
Yeah.
And, they're about the only thing over there worth walking over there for is Space Mountain.
Yeah.
And maybe the monorail and the submarines are really they need to do something with that submarine ride too.
Yeah, the submarine ride has always been fairly lame.
I mean, it's getting very dated.
Yeah. I agree.
None of the Finding Nemo stuff works very well anymore. You can't hardly see the screens when you go through the building. That rock facade where you go through the waterfall, that is a building.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And everything you are looking at is above water. None of that is really underwater. It looks like it is because in the windows of the submarine there is water.
Water filling up, yeah.
And it makes it look like what you're looking at is underwater. And none of that stuff in that building is underwater. That's all above ground.
A friend of mine went on that ride, and there was a little boy looking out going, "That's not real water, Daddy. That's just the window filling."
And he was right.
And since your daughter was a former ride person, you know how much they love that when there's a smart kid going, "Hey,
that's not real."
it's riding. This is riding on a rail." I know, I did that myself. So anyway, well, Disneyland.
I guess we talked about Disneyland for 18 minutes, so maybe
Yeah.
we should now start talking about Monk.
And we shall. And I will also add, as I had friends asking me, we'll also do a show at some point talking about Supernatural, if I can talk my brother into it. I just started watching it, and it lasted 15 seasons, and somehow I managed not to watch a one. I just started.
Is that the one with the two brothers?
Yeah, the Winchester brothers. Yeah.
Okay, I watched that show up until the demon killed their father.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the last episode I watched because it just kind of...
It got better.
Okay.
Yeah, I was watching it going, and friends of mine said, "No, keep watching." So as it happens, it actually improves. And I was very surprised because at that point, at like 5th or 6th episode in, I was going, "You've got to be kidding me." Because most of my friends are very smart people, and what is it I'm not seeing? And so anyway, we will eventually get to that, but let's start with Monk, which was my favorite TV show starting from 2002 on. I stopped watching about the 6th season in because I didn't like Natalie very much, but I like
Sharona better.
Yeah, me too. Sharona was really a cool character, and
Natalie's character was very inconsistent. The writing on the show was very inconsistent.
Yeah.
Because one episode, Monk could handle one thing, and all of a sudden on that next episode, he couldn't handle it.
Well, see, that's fairly in keeping, though, with his disabilities. He was autistic and he had OCD. And the OCD was trauma OCD, which tends to be really sporadic, and so they were keeping with the situation of the character, but the writing itself, the narrative, they kept getting away from, and they tried to bring in this relationship thing, and it just derailed. And
it was very predictable. That was one problem with the show. If ever Tony had a friend, you knew they were a killer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because whenever he got friendly with somebody, they were somehow involved in whatever homicide they were investigating.
Like what Jessica Fletcher and her niece and nephew, If you ever watched Murder, She Wrote, my tip of the hat to my friend Debbie, who wrote for the show. I don't mean to demean it, but it did get predictable. But in the case of Monk, what I liked so much about it initially was the fact that there was an actual so-called disabled character as the hero, as the main character. And that's so unusual on television, especially on American television. He wasn't pitiful. I mean, to call what he had disabilities is like saying Superman was allergic to krypton or kryptonite. He had abilities that were different from what most people had. And they would express themselves that way. One of my favorite episodes is the first Willie Nelson episode, where Sharona says, "He's just a human being. He puts his pants on one leg at a time." And Monk goes, "You take that back." And another favorite of mine was when his encounter with an airplane, because I have the same problem with flying, and he's looking at it, just doesn't make sense. So there were many things about the character that I just loved, and as long as they kept that consistent and didn't try to turn it into a comedy, which it was not, it was fine. There were humorous aspects to his character, but it was not a comedy. In fact, the episode where he tried to play the flute is so tragic that it's hard to watch.
I don't think it was a flute, though.
Was it a clarinet?
A clarinet.
Probably. It's been a while since
the same thing that Tommy Dorsey used to play, which was a clarinet.
But so the only other character I've seen on mainstream TV that had severe disabilities that was also heroic was Chloe on 24. She had autism, and she was the first one through the door right after Jack. So the same thing with Monk. Monk was the main guy, and I thought it was amazingly well done in the beginning, and that's why it won so many awards. But what was your first experience with it?
I was looking for something to binge watch. I don't start watching something until it has run at least 6 seasons and it has completed its run. Because I have been burned by too many shows where I start watching them, and then all of a sudden they decide to cancel them in season 3, and you never get the ending to the show. So I don't like that.
No, I don't either.
I never watched The Sopranos until it was done.
I never watched it, period.
Oh, it was an excellent TV series.
I'm told it is. It's probably going to be.
But it's very violent, so you have to be prepared for the violence. But then they had that spin-off where one of the characters goes to like where was it, Finland or something? I forget the name of it, but it's one of the actors that was on The Sopranos continued on with his own series, and it ran 5 or 6 years, so it had a good run. But I started watching it when I've got 2 or 3 shows that I watch over and over and over, but I can't just like get to the end and start back with episode 1. I have to watch something in between.
Yeah.
Because then the details of the show will get fuzzy for me, and I can go back and watch it again.
Yeah,
I watched Babylon 5. I watched Babylon 5. I watched Battlestar Galactica, the 2008 Battlestar Galactica, not the 1986 Battlestar Galactica.
Not the Cattle Car Galactica. No.
Yeah. Well, that was Mad Magazine.
Yes, I know. Because of Lauren Green.
And Star Black.
Oh, yeah.
I have all of those, by the way, on DVD.
Yeah.
I have all the Mad Magazines from the original one up until like 1993 or something like that on DVD. So if you ever want to see a particular TV show's thing, I'll look it up for you. Unfortunately, my current computer doesn't have a DVD drive, so I have to pull my spare one out of the closet.
Well, they're cheap on eBay, so.
Yeah, well, I've got one. In fact, where is it? It was laying right here, so. Oh, wait a second. I'll find it. There it is. You see?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, I got one right there. Yeah. It's the way of things. But
I also have a floppy drive.
Well, there you go.
Because I have a whole bunch of floppy disks with old pictures from my old Sony Mavica digital camera.
That's good.
I have all the digital cameras I ever owned. I still have.
Well, cool.
I have an Epson 500, which was essentially the very first domestic product digital camera. You can take 20 pictures with it.
Well, you and Poppy, you were camera people. Me, I had one digital camera, and then I got my phone.
Then I bought a Sony Mavica, which I liked because you just inserted floppy disks into it. And as long as you carried a big enough supply of floppy disks, you could take all sorts of pictures. But they weren't very high resolution. It still functions. I can plug it in and use it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it still works. And I have a Canon Rebel, the first generation Canon Rebel, and it still functions also. And it takes a lot better picture, but it's very big and clunky, and it's really, now that you can take a picture just as good with your phone, I really haven't got much use for that Canon Rebel anymore, so it just sits. But anyway, back to Monk.
Somebody wants to know what kind of camera Monk had. I don't think he had one.
No, he did. I just saw it on the. He had a Kodak carousel camera, they used to call them, because it used a flash cube that you put on top, and you could take 4 pictures with this flash cube, because after each picture, it turned.
Advanced, yeah.
And it advanced, and you could take another picture.
I came across some of those cubes not long ago. I had them packed away, probably from some trip to Disneyland. But
so he had a Kodak camera, That was the one they just showed recently. And then he bought a digital camera, and it was a very early digital camera that he had that had one of those telephoto lenses that would extend out from the front of the camera. The one that he had looked like an Olympus. The packaging was something they made up. It didn't have it had some phony company name on it, so they didn't have to
pay
something. Right. They didn't have to give Olympus credit for the camera. So it was, but I think it was an Olympus camera. It looked like one.
Somebody asked, why did I forget his name? They forgot his name. The guy who wrote the theme song that they changed over to. Did he write it just for Monk? No, he did not. That song came out as a regular single, or EP as they call them these days. And the producers of Monk heard it and went, God, this is Monk's song. So
it was played on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
The original theme song. And then they jazzed it up in like season 2.
Yeah.
And then they brought in Randy Newman.
That was the song that they're talking about.
And that's the one that stayed with the show most of the time. Now, there was a rap version done by Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. Snoop Dogg was a fan, so.
Well, he was on the show.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, that's how he got on the show.
Yeah, he was on an episode of the show. I happen to know Snoop Dogg.
Oh.
Now, I knew him in passing. Okay. He used to coach a junior football team in Compton.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a little league. I forget what and it was like little league football. And he used to coach it over there. And one of his players was a kid named Ronnie Hillman.
Yeah.
And my wife and I used to follow La Habra High football.
Yeah, because Allison.
Right. And Ronnie Hillman's father decided he wanted to find a good football program for his son to play at. And La Habra at that time was very good. So his father moved to La Habra and brought his son with him. And Ronnie Hillman played at La Habra High School. It was an outstanding player. He went on to play at Long Beach City College, where he played a bowl game where he scored 7 touchdowns in a bowl game.
Huh.
And then that game pretty much got him drafted into the NFL, where he played for, I think, 4 seasons for the Denver Broncos.
Good for him.
And he got a Super Bowl ring. Unfortunately, we lost Ronnie last year to liver cancer.
Oh, God.
And, he was in his 20s, maybe early 30s. So that was really sad. He was a good kid, and I hated to see that. But that's how I happened to run into Snoop Dogg. Because my wife and I used to sit around midfield, and Snoop Dogg would come in right towards the end of the game with his little entourage, and they had an area roped off, and he sat there with his people and watched the game. So that's how I got to be acquainted. I'm not going to say I'm a friend, because I wasn't, but how I got to be acquainted with Snoop Dogg.
Well, it
was nice.
Another friend of yours, an actual friend, was on an episode of Supernatural that I saw yesterday. Linda Blair.
Oh,
cool. She did a fairly major. In fact, it's starring. What do they call it? Oh, I'm so out of it these days. A episodic starring role, and just one episode. But at the end of it, as the Dean character is walking away, he said, "For some reason, I have a great need to have some split pea soup." And anybody who knew, Linda was sitting there laughing their butts off. But anyway, it's good that you knew Snoop. Here we
But
start.
anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so as I was saying before I segued off into that little story,
Yeah.
he recorded a rap version of
Yeah.
the original theme song by Newman.
Yeah.
So,
well, that wasn't. Randy Newman didn't write the song for Monk, though. It was written just as a song, and
it had to be because it was too targeted.
it was no. I think if you'll, I'll back off the possibility, but I think if you look into it, you'll see that there was less happenstance than just a
Because
encounter.
One of Monk's key phrases was used in the song.
It became okay. Let's not get into it. But
well, just to tell you what it was, you know how sometimes Monk will say, "I may be wrong, but I don't think so."
yeah, he started saying that after the song. Yeah, it's not in the early episodes. And
okay, could be.
Okay, but
well, somehow either Tony Shalhoub started using those lyrics or the lyrics copied the hymn. Yeah. Somehow they got to be related to one another.
All I know is that there was a great deal of negotiation over using the song. So now it may be that he wrote it and with him in mind, and then was a pain in the ass about letting him use it, but it's, I know there was a bit of negotiation. I remember when the song was changed, real fans hated it, and I liked the new song. I thought it was cool, and
I didn't really care about the original.
Yeah, well, the original season was so, it was not in your face. It was a very carefully constructed mystery, and the character was the most out of bounds element of the entire series. So, but anyway, so you felt that Natalie was, did you like the character better as you watched her, or?
I mean, it grew on you. She was on Monk's side, and she complained about money a lot more than it was more realistic with her, because Sharona would have starved to death with the.
Yeah.
And it kind of made Monk an unsympathetic character.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't taking care of the people that were taking care of him,
Well,
so.
There was always that element of the character. The famous episode around a circus where Sharona's terrified of elephants. And,
yes.
Here Monk has all of these fears and phobias. And Sharona goes, oh my God. And he goes, are you joking? Suck it up.
Oh, yeah. I remember she got really mad.
Suck it up. Yeah, that to me, that was the dynamic of the character that I liked, and there was always that aspect to his character. I mean, that's the thing with really well constructed characters. There's always elements that are that you dislike in them. At least if it's a realistically drawn character. And
Now, to go back to the theme song for a second, do you remember the episode of Monk, Mr. Monk and the TV star?
Yeah.
And part of the plot of that was how fans were mad because they changed their theme song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was. They did that a lot.
The original theme song was written by a guy named Jeffrey Beal.
Yeah.
He wrote the original theme song. And according to Wikipedia, and Lord knows Wikipedia is wrong from time to time, it says the producer of Monk approached Randy Newman and asked him to write the song.
That was not the story you heard at the time. So
yeah, I don't know. Wikipedia is not, carved in stone by any stretch of the imagination. But
well, that could be entirely true, and they just twisted it at the time to try to take the sting of the original.
Melanie knows a lot of this stuff better than what Wikipedia does. So,
well, I know
I would give Melanie a lot of credence in what she says.
It tends to be the way of things. You'll hear once. It's like the reason Biddy Schramm left the show. We were all told it was because she had creative differences. Of course, that's a phrase for they ain't giving me enough money. Essentially what happened, it's good old sexism. Everybody on the show was of her caliber of character was paid more than she was. And she said, oh, okay, I want, compensatory wages. And they said no. And they, at the time, USA Network had been taken over, and they told her to walk. So nobody was happy about it, and
including the kid that played her son.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what you don't think about when people do things like that. Is she torpedoed the career of the kid that was playing her son? Now,
and he did a very popular character.
He did get a role on a future episode. He was on a playground playing tetherball with this other kid, and I recognized him. He was older, but I recognized him. I said, well, at least they gave him something.
No kidding. But especially since he'd moved out there to,
But then Natalie's daughter gets to be an actress. Now, did she go on to do anything?
I don't think so. At least not that. Of course, they grow up so quickly that you don't recognize them. So it's like the little boy from E.T. One day you go, oh, son of a gun, it's him.
Well, he was in that UFO movie, right?
Yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff.
Where he got kidnapped by the UFO.
Yeah. He's done a few things. So good for him. And that's
wasn't he just in something recently where he was like a big star?
Yeah, he was in I'm trying to think of the series. But he always plays major roles. So he's not a background player anymore. So
who was it that was playing Weird Al in the biography?
Oh, that was Radcliffe, Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, I knew that was a child star.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a child star too.
He's just terrific. He's a song and dance man.
He did a really good job on playing Weird Al. You know, I wonder if Weird Al ever thought his life would be made into a movie.
Oh, you know he didn't.
He used to, when he got started, a lot of you younger people are not going to know this, but there used to be a show that was on Saturday nights real late, and it was called Dr. Demento. And a lot of us used to sit and wait till midnight to listen to Dr. Demento. And in Southern California, it was carried on XERB, which was a radio station in Mexico City that also carried Wolfman Jack. And
Yep.
their shows were on back to back. And Dr. Demento would play these weird songs people would send in to him, that fish heads, remember that?
Fish heads,
Fish
fish
heads,
heads,
fish heads, roly poly fish heads, fish heads, fish heads, eat them up, yum.
Yum. Yeah.
and Weird Al sent in a song called My Bologna,
Yeah.
sung to the song of My Sharona,
Speaking of which.
and played on the accordion because Weird Al was an accordion player. His dad was a famous polka,
Yep.
like a polka king, and he played the accordion, and he had many record albums and so forth. So his dad was a musician, and Weird Al learned to play the accordion, and in a number of his videos, he plays the accordion.
Yep.
Anyway, we were talking about Weird Al. We're talking about Tony.
Well,
Shalhoub.
we talked about Sharona a little, and they actually make reference to My Sharona in the.
I'm sure
in the
they
show.
did.
They did. There's a famous, not famous, but there's a scene where some guy walks up to hit on Sharona, and he goes, "My Sharona," and she said, "I never heard that." And there's Mike in the background going, "Give me a break." So.
Well, I would believe he had never heard of it because
he
hear
had
much.
heard of it. He was looking at her, going, "You never heard that song?" Sure, you know. But
So
anyway, so Sharona left, and they brought Natalie in, and the main thing that no one liked was the relationship between. I can't even think of his name now. The assistant detective. What was his name? Randy.
So with Randy.
Yeah. And Randy and Sharona. Everybody thought that sucked. And I had to kind of agree. They would force its way into the scenes with this, relationship thing. And everybody's going,
Well, I thought they could have done better than that guy that played Randy. I didn't think he was really very good.
He wasn't. In fact, that was a constant criticism the show got was, who's he? But all the other actors were so strong that it was just, where did he come from? But he's done better since then. He's gone on and.
It was funny when you watched the show. It was kind of predictable.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Because you can watch the show, and whenever a guest star would come on, and it was somebody that you recognized, that was the murderer.
Yeah, of course, because they're gonna pay for somebody big to be the bad guy.
The only one that wasn't that way was Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson, yeah.
And you thought Willie Nelson was the killer.
All the way through, yeah.
Yeah. But you knew he couldn't be because he was playing Willie Nelson.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? If he was playing, Ed Slaughter or something, then okay, he could be the killer. But he was playing himself, so you knew he wasn't going to be the killer.
No, he was definitely not going to be. And his also, Willie had said that he called them up and said, "Can I be on?" So that shows you that it was getting to be a big enough show. I have to say something too. I knocked USA Network before, but do you know USA Network actually had a whole website with images and things to make websites if you were a fan of Monk? It said, here, these are all copyright free. Do whatever you want with them. And it was changed every month. They gave you more stuff.
That's a smart thing to do. I don't know why more of these, like Disney. I don't know why Disney is always trying to go after people when they use any of their images or songs.
Stupid.
If they would realize that those people are promoting Disney products.
Yes. Well, that's one of the reasons.
As long as you're not. Go ahead.
No.
As long as you're not doing a porn site using Disney music, I can understand them going after that. But if all you're doing is something about how much you love Disney and you play a little When You Wish Upon a Star music, they shouldn't sue you for that.
No. It's stupid. That just creates antagonism toward Disney. It doesn't help the product at all. And USA Network, they said that the interest in the show expanded by considerably after they started doing that, because people would see this site and go, "Whoa, what's this?" and watch an episode and then get hooked. And it just makes sense to do something like that. So.
Now, we've only got a few minutes, so let me put in a few things we haven't talked about. One of the biggest things for me was the death of Stanley Kamel.
Yeah.
Which happened during season 7, I believe it was, 2008. He played Dr. Kroger.
Yep.
And on the episode, I don't remember what it was. It was Mr. Monk Buys a House.
Yeah.
On that episode, part of the story is how Dr. Kroger had died of a heart attack. And then at the very end of the episode, it has a memorial to Stanley Kamel, who actually had died of a heart attack. So that's sad to see when a cast member goes, especially if they go in the middle of the show. You lose them during the show. That happened in West Wing on an even more gigantic scale.
Yeah.
When I can't. Leo, who played Leo?
John. I can't think.
John. Hang on.
He was such a wonderful actor.
Hang on, I have to look it up.
It remains one of my favorite shows, as it does yours, I know.
John Spencer.
Spencer, thank you.
John Spencer. He played Leo McGarry on The West Wing, and he was next to Martin Sheen. He was the main character of the show.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
They had to pretty much rewrite the last episode or the last season of the show because of that.
He was, in many ways, he was the heart of the show. And there's that wonderful scene with Dulé. Who did he play? The officer.
Dulé Hill played Charlie.
Yes, thank you, Charlie. Yeah. And when Leo is getting on Bartlett's case because he's not being more himself, and he looks at him and says, "That young man gets death threats every day because he dates your daughter." He says, "But he shows up because sometimes a man stands up." And that was such a striking moment in the show. There's about 10 of them. I mean, there aren't that many for most shows. There's maybe 2 on even a good show. And that series had so many moments where you just go, you remember the scene, the setup, everything.
Well, I don't like politics anymore. But it isn't politics I don't like. I don't like the current crop of
We don't like
crooked politicians.
crooks. We don't like syndicate a syndicate crime running our upper echelons of offices. That's what we
What
don't like.
what we saw on West Wing is what it should be like.
Exactly.
That's what it should be like.
It
And
absolutely. That's
it's
the
not like that anymore.
right now.
The politicians on both sides of the aisle should have respect for one another, should treat each other with respect, and
It
that's
used to
just
be that
not
way.
happened. They're a
It
bunch of
used to sure.
foul mouthed idiots on both sides of the aisle, and I can't stand any of them.
They're
So
all absolutely. I mean, it's we have to get that back. We have to if we're going to survive as democracy. But
well, when Joe Biden is reelected in a landslide,
I don't think so. I don't
it's
think
coming.
he's going to be. I don't
It's
think
coming.
either.
And you see what he's doing now when he knew he had to go through another election. Imagine what he's going to do in the next 4 years when he doesn't have to worry about what we think.
But here's the thing. I just have a feeling. Now maybe it's just my silliness, but I just have this feeling we haven't seen the real people up for the office yet. I think we're just being distracted. And
well, you know, I really wish Donald Trump hadn't run again because I think he tried to do a good job, despite what you may think of him. I think he legitimately tried to do a good job, but they beat him to death. And I feel sorry for the guy. At his age, he doesn't need this crap. He ought to go away, spend his money, and enjoy himself. They should have run Candace Owens or somebody like that for the office, and she wouldn't have had to defend herself like Trump is gonna. Even if Trump wins, he's gonna go through hell. So I really have wished they hadn't run Donald Trump.
I wish they hadn't run either one. Both of these men are too old. I'm sorry, they're both too old. They're both.
I love Candace. I love Candace Owens.
Well,
she is really good. I think she is gonna. I think she's gonna have a position in the government eventually.
Well, we need to take care of our own people, not far distant lands.
I feel sorry for people from other countries that are in war-torn areas.
Me too.
But just because they're bringing 3 million Chinese people every month into this country, and Biden has been flying them in and on our expense. And
well, can we talk
about
that next week?
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? But anyway, I have not seen season 8 of Monk, so I can't really talk anything about season 8 because I haven't seen it. So don't tell me about it.
Okay.
So
right. 8 is coming up, and we'll probably finish up on Monk and maybe get into Supernatural next week, which I keep calling paranormal, and I don't know why. Anyway, I think somebody heard we were talking politics, and they went, "Oh, they're gonna fight." Mark and I don't fight. Okay.
Nope.
We have differences of opinion, but that's it. All right.
Okay. It's time to go. So we will be back next week talking about God knows what.
It's true. It's true. Maybe Disney.
I'll have to watch some more Supernatural because I quit watching when they killed their dad.
Yeah,
well,
no,
they didn't kill their dad. When the demon killed their dad.
The demon killed their dad.
Yeah. Well, we just lost our last viewer. So,
oh well.
so it's time to go.
All right. Take it easy, kiddos. Have a good week. We'll see you next Sunday. Yeah, it's Sunday.
Sunday.
And have
you forgot what day of the week we do the show?
I don't know. I'm 64. It's getting there.
Oh, okay.
Right. Have a good week, guys. Bye.
I'm 68.
Bye.